Thank you for another show. Thank you for the National Parent Union for hosting this show for us. And forgive me, got a lot going on in Detroit. And I am your host, Bernita Bradley, on the Aparent Voice, and just wanted to say welcome. I'd love for you to go and share this video. Today we have a beautiful guest with us. Her name is Zoena Gray. And before she comes on, I just want to tell you a little bit about her. So, and the purpose for her being on the show today. So Zoena is a graduate from homeschooling. If that may not be the appropriate terminology that they use, but that's what we traditionally know it as, is homeschooling. I've watched Zoena's path from literally about the last about 5 years, her going to music classes, her indulging in outside traditional schooling settings, and just really exploring her journey in life. I've watched her travel the country. I've watched her mother and her father really be a support for her while homeschooling, and really allow her to take the reins and really create her own path in life, which is what I think we should all do, right? So in Finland, there's a model where their students in school actually get the opportunity for a year to explore what they want to do, like, so that when they go to college, they are not wasting time. When they go to college, they are not somewhere just deciding like, oh, I went to school for engineering, but I really don't like engineering, or I went to school to be a nurse, but really I want to be a teacher. They are actually exploring what's best for them. But I've watched Zoena for the last 5 years, and I'm pretty sure since she's been homeschooling, just explored that purpose. And not to say she's probably got this concrete answer of who she wants to be, but I'm pretty sure she's close to it. And so I invited Zoena today to be a guest and also a co-host. She will be hosting a conversation between young people and their parents, asking them about homeschooling and telling her story to parents who are considering homeschooling, and just to give them an insight from a young person's perspective how homeschooling really could look. So at this time, I'll invite Zoena on. Hello, how are you, beautiful soul?
I'm doing really great. How are you doing?
Good. So I did no justice in telling who you are and what you do. And I know, like, I probably couldn't even put it in one book about the things I've seen you do. So what do you do? Who are you? Who's Zoena?
So in terms of education, I would say that, so I went to a charter school through elementary school. The middle school started doing online classes instead, so like not going into brick and mortar schools, but also like along with that, those online classes, finding like a lot of things that I want to do and enjoy more. So like you kind of talked about music classes, I was playing bass and mentoring a robotics team. And so along with the virtual classes, the online classes I was doing, I was also doing like all these other things that I like hoped would grow my like strengths in certain areas that I wanted to. And then coming into high school, I got a really great opportunity to go to these things called semester schools, where I went to Wisconsin, Maine, California, and New York, each for a semester, about different topics. And so I think the interesting thing about homeschooling is it's not like this like huge, it's not one thing. It can be a lot of different things depending on what you want it to do and like who your child is.
Right. So I think a lot of children, when they think about homeschooling, they see the traditional, like where a kid's sitting in front of a computer, right? And they're kind of just looking at a computer, talking to somebody online, and everything is done online. You fax some sheets in and you get back this, I got an A. And that has not been your experience, right?
No. And I think definitely the thing too is like whether or not you're homeschooled or doing online classes or in like a brick and mortar school, there needs to be like a passion for learning and like a passion for learning the material. So that's what like doing something non-traditional allows you to do. Is like if you're doing online classes and you're doing it the same way that you would do brick and mortar schools where it's like you're just doing it for the grade. It's all about changing your mindset and like finding enjoyment in the work that you're doing.
Okay. 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 So today you're going to co-host with me. Well, actually, you're going to be the host because I'm about to turn it over to you, and I'm going to go black and let you turn it over. But first, what I love to do is bring on our guests, and then I'll turn it over to you and let you, have a conversation with them. So I think we have Trevon and her children who are Janaya and you're flipped for some reason. You were good in the other room. Turn your camera another way for me. There you go. There you go. Yep. You can unmute too. And so welcome, Trevon. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, good. And I don't know if we have the other family on yet, but if we don't, they should be joining us shortly. So Trevon, yes, we got Diana. How are you, Diana?
Why did you mix them?
Is that your baby talking?
Yeah, that's my son.
Tell them they can come on camera. They can come on camera. Yes, they can, because they have questions too. Hey, Diana.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Can you come on camera? Or if you can, it's fine too.
No.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So today Zoena's gonna continue with you guys, but I just wanted you to come on and know to feel comfortable. She has so many great, great stories to tell, but feel free to ask her as many questions as you have from a young person's perspective, or from a mom just wanting to know from a child, like how she adjusted, what's some tips or whatever it may be, and go from there. Everybody cool with it?
Mm-hmm.
So I am
Sounds
okay.
good.
So I'm gonna black out, and y'all enjoy the show. I'll be back towards the end.
Awesome. All right, I think it would be great if we could just like have everybody give like a little bit of an introduction, like your name and your connection to like education. So either for you or your child, and like what that has looked like for you. So I don't know if you want to start Trevon or you want to go Diana, but either way, that'd be great.
Sure. I don't mind starting. So my name is Trevon, and I am a wife and mom of 2 children. This is Janaya. Janaya is not as excited at the moment, but she's 8. And my son Taj, who is right here behind me, and he just turned 7 in May. And my connection to education. So by education, I am an engineer. Chemical engineer from Michigan Tech University, and I was one of those people that Bernita talked about in the introduction, which I went to school 6 years for it, and did co-ops and all of those things, only to, I guess, really recognize that it wasn't my passion. It really wasn't something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. It made good money, and it had a lot of prestige to it, so to speak, being connected as, being known as a Black woman from Detroit who's a chemical engineer, and it had a lot of prestige, but the passion for it didn't remain. And so I wound up going into media and working with different churches and organizations in the Detroit area. And so my reintroduction to education, if you will, is when my children started back, and they've been in charter schools, but it's been a challenge with some of the curriculum and how they introduce certain things like in history, like my son starting off in kindergarten, and they were presenting to him George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. My daughter learned about JFK, and I just was looking at this theme. It's like, wow, the main people you're finding out about are people who got assassinated in history. And, what kind of narrative. So I just narrative were we creating, and I just noticed that it was just a lot of things, the Pledge of Allegiance, just a lot of things that weren't discussed in the full scope of history. And so when this sheltering in place happened, it was a welcome change, although it was still very chaotic. And I did not have the structure. I was calling it homeschooling really up until the point that you guys had that interview that you and your mom was a part of. And someone said that this is not homeschooling, this is responding to a crisis. And it relieved me so much because I just was, I guess, putting the pressure on myself to do things so well and so perfectly in that transition. And it just really helped me feel better because my daughter, who's more of a social butterfly, really missed being in that setting, and I didn't know how to bring that to her. And my son thrived with the online, but they both just kind of got tired of the computer always responding to them and not having that interaction. They kind of got tired of the Google Classrooms, and we just didn't know what else to do and how to further. Okay, guys. We're live. It's okay. This is my house. So, we just didn't have a clear view on how we can move forward if we were deciding that they weren't going to return to school, simply just for the simple fact that we didn't know what was going to be happening in regards to coronavirus, or if we just wanted to do homeschooling because we also like the fact that we noticed that there was a flexibility in schedule, that there was some type of groove that we could find for ourselves that we liked, and different things that my children started saying that they were interested in that we could possibly explore, but we didn't know how to get that started.
Thank you so much for sharing. I just want to give Dayana a chance to introduce yourself and kind of talk about your educational experience.
Hi, my name is Dayana. I am 15 years old. I go to Cody Frank High School. And for me, like online school, it wasn't the best because I had switched out of schools. So I was going to UPrep art and design. Then I went to Cody. But it was kind of hard for me because my teachers, I couldn't get in touch with them. Like one of my friends had to tell me that we was doing online school, so I got with that. And then that's when 3 of my teachers, they was helping me constantly, and I was doing my work, catching up my work. But then my other 3 teachers, I kept trying to respond and get back to them. They wasn't texting me back. So like through this coronavirus stuff, I haven't got in touch with 3 of my teachers. Like they haven't invited me to their class at all. So it just wasn't the best for me. And then they wanted you to send a document on a phone, but like what if people don't have a phone? So I sent mine on it's like this document thing where you go on Word doc and you do the assignment. But like that still do too much because then you gotta save it to you OneDrive and do all that and stuff. And then I have 4 other siblings, so we all gotta do online school, and the house just be chaotic. Like we all can't hear all 5 of our teachers at one time. And even if we go into another room, it's still not better because we only have a limited amount of computers. And then when my mama, she emailed DPS schools and said, can I have a computer? They said I can't get a computer because I wasn't in the February count.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So something I heard both you and Trevon talk about was this idea of like connection. And so you talked about like how it being difficult to stay in contact with your teachers and being able to like even stay connected to your friends. And I heard you, Trevon, kind of talk about with your kids, like how they're different learners and how like your daughter is more so like a social butterfly and how your son really thrived with the online classes. So I'm just really interested in knowing what you guys think about with that tough and like that difficulty, the difficultness to find that connection. How has it been to find joy in the learning that you're doing? Like, has there been joy in that, and like learning for you, Trevon, and like finding those, like being able to know that both of your children are learning in different ways? Like, has there been time to like reflect on that joy of learning there?
And it has been, I think the greatest joy is discovering the difference in their personalities, knowing that they need something different, even for motivation, even their reward system, if you will, is different. I noticed that my daughter, as a result of being older and being in school, like, you know, charter school environment longer, she really thrived on kind of like that competition focused type of classroom thing, you know, needing to know where she ranked and things of that nature. And my son, before we got out, he was actually, I don't even think he really understood what homeschooling was, but at the beginning of the year, he was asking me, will you please homeschool me? He doesn't like the standardized testing. He said they test too much. And he's in kindergarten, you know, and so he was very vocal. And so that's one thing that I enjoy, is that my children are very vocal and expressing, you know, how they feel. And so the greatest joy was finding out they were different learners, being able to participate a little bit more. This guy is my prankster, jokester. He loves to make people laugh. So even things like that, I would volunteer up at the school a lot, and I would notice that, you know, some of the boys who would be that way would get in trouble because they have that set amount of time that they got to be able to do things. And actually being at home, I was in the beginning being like that, like, no, you gotta stop that. We gotta do this and this and that time. And then it was just like, hey, I'm going crazy trying to do their schedule. And so I would leave room for him for this kind of stuff, because this type of stuff was important to him. But I really need you to stop while we're doing it live though, Taj. And so, but he would do things like that. And it's not even just for the camera. He just likes to create. And I started to see that this is him. This is what he likes. And he can't do that, you know, in school. So how do we bring that together so he can express himself, be his creative self, you know, not be stressed out about standardized testing, and still allow him to learn, you know? And I want to be able to give her that, you know, being able to be social with other kids, you know, so
Yeah.
like I said, I enjoy seeing that she could do it. She showed me that she could do the work. She just was not enjoying the process of it. And
Yeah.
so all that feedback was good for me.
Wow. And also to kind of dive deeper into the conversations about like homeschooling, and like to put a finer tip on that, because something that I find too is, for me, it was a lot less of like, this is what somebody is teaching you, that like one like a transactional type of learning that other times can happen in school, and more so like we're learning like, and we're doing things. So cooking, like you might learn some math in there, and so like allowing those like passions, like in what like allowing, keeping that joy for learning. Because I think a lot of the times, if it's like one way and transactional, it's like, this is the way that you do it, this is what you should be doing, then that kind of gets lost. And so it's really great to like just like hear about that like process of learning, like your children as learners, and be able to go through that. I also want to kind of go back to what you're saying about who's telling the story and like narrative and curriculums in school, because for me, and going to the semester programs, it's been really interesting to be able to get so many different perspectives. And so for you, have you found any interesting ways to bring different narratives into the teachings with your children? Have you found any ways to do that?
Have I found any different ways to say that again?
Like change the narrative, because you're talking a lot about how like they're learning about George Washington, and like,
yes.
So how have you found ways to bring the things that you want into that learning in a really engaging way?
Okay, so we So my daughter, I noticed that she really thrives. She's a visual learner, so she really thrives off of movies and documentaries. I learned that she loves history, so we would watch some documentaries that would frame what was going on. She wanted to know if George Washington had slaves. Like so these questions that just kind of come naturally out of conversation I started allowing those questions to kind of lead the lesson, if you will, of what we were going to discuss that day. And what pretty much too, this was happening over the summer, and it feels more organic doing it that way, because we're still learning over the summer, even though it doesn't look like it was the way that it was introduced, to us during that transition. And so there are just natural questions that come up. And then also with us, being believers, studying the Bible was important to us as well. And so we got a chance to see how much we really didn't even sit down and treat it the same way, or put on the same, treat it with the same value as we were doing with school. And so that was an eye-opening for us to say, hey, this is our faith. Like, let's talk about church history. Let's talk about, things that in history that went wrong, and how does it affect, what we're seeing today. So we've been able to talk about, the protests, and, does God care about things like that, and justice, and what does that mean, and what does that look like? And so, I don't know, if those conversations could have or would have taken place in school. And it felt good that we got a chance to frame it for them first, without somebody else framing it for them.
And that's also something that I find like really cool about what you were saying about just that, like, it seems like all those conversations that you're able to have now that would not have necessarily happened if they were in traditional school right now. And so what does that look like moving forward? So even, I know you're saying like your daughter really enjoys that space of school. So is there ways that you can take like the good things from this and like integrate that with her also going to traditional school?
I'm not sure. That's why I was hoping you would be able to speak to.
Yeah.
That was the other reason why I came on, because I really wanted to hear more about your journey and how your mom how you and your mom partnered together to bring that out to you. Because the other thing is that we travel pretty extensively already. So, they've been to several states, and so that's in them, that whole desire to travel. And they were ready to hit another country this year before everything, shut down. And so we're in the process of getting passports, but we love to travel, because I traveled. And so I wanted to make sure that very early on that they would be introduced to traveling, because I had the opportunity to work and live in Mexico. And I wanted them to have that opportunity as well. But again, I need some tips on how to how to do it. I'm even open to even the mixture. I thought about that. I said, well, maybe she needs a mixture of brick and mortar and then home. And then I know that there are certain things called co-ops. Where there are other groups. I mean, so I know it's like all different ways, and that's what I've been trying to get her to understand. That they're like, your experience that you just had here is not homeschool, and it's really hard to get her to understand. And so even this phone call, she's like so anti, like no.
And I mean, also that's something like for me that I've realized is that, like, kind of speaking to that a little bit, is that it's all about knowing yourself as a learner. So being able to, so for me, like, being able to travel and like get new perspective is something that I really value. And so the semester schools where I was able to go to a new place every semester and learn about something like very specific. So like my first one was about environmental stewardship. And so that was a really good environment for me to learn, because I already enjoyed traveling, and I wanted to be able to like dive deeper into my passion about environmental stewardship. And so for me, I think that there's no one way. It's just like through education, finding ways to know yourself more. And like, so like if maybe online isn't what you want to do, then maybe what do you like? Because like after graduation, like that's something that taking like finding like those human skills and those human values to figure out where you want to go after that. So trying to find ways to just know yourself as a learner, I think, is a really great way to approach it.
Okay. So what I would like to do, Janiyah, would you mind saying what you did? Was it anything about being home, learning at home that you enjoyed? Okay, you don't want to participate.
No.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Taj, what about you? Is there anything about being at home, learning from home that you enjoyed?
Playing outside.
Come up here.
Yeah.
Having the freedom to be able to play outside.
Yeah.
Anything
and
else?
That's something that's really cool too, because even that, like at school, when I was away, like especially in Wisconsin and Maine, we're just like outside in the woods, and so there's that playfulness and like joy that was sparked about learning, and like stressed at those semester programs is like finding the joy within the work that we were doing. And so that's a value that I tried to take into like, even when I had to do online classes because of COVID, like finding ways to find joy in the work. And so that transfers not only like outside of school, because I think a lot of the times like school is separate from like other parts of your life, like the school, social. But I find it really valuable if there's ways to put like those school values. So like what I was learning there, so like having a joy for learning, a determination, a love and compassion for the group as a whole, teamwork, taking those outside of school is something I find really valuable.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see that Dayana is back, so I just want to invite you to, we were just kind of talking about joy and learning that we found from being like having this newness. And so I wanted to ask if you found anything really joyful about any of the work you've been doing recently.
No, not for real. Oh, and my sister is here too, Dallas.
Hey, Dallas.
Hi.
Yeah. So what do you think, if there's nothing joyful right now about the work that you're doing, what do you think what would you want to what would make school more enjoyable for you to find joy in your learning?
Like if I had more communication with my teachers, maybe that be something.
Yeah. So I think that's a really great point, because I did these like boarding schools where like we are really close with our teachers and we know them, and that creating that relationship like can totally shift like how we're learning, because your teachers have a closer connection and then you know they're invested in you. And so what are ways like outside of school, is there anything outside of school that you enjoy to do that you really have a passion about, that you're really passionate about?
I like to work with like younger kids because I have so many siblings and I'm so used to just like working with kids. So I feel like that's where my passion is, working with kids. Oh, and I want to do like be in law school.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you're 15, right? So you're going into high school?
No, I'm already into high school.
So you're going into 10th grade?
Yes.
Okay, got it. So what are things that you're excited about or that you want to do, like that you can do outside of like your regular school schedule to work those skills in the passion that you already have for working with younger kids?
I wanna I haven't really thought about that one yet.
Yeah.
I think I wanna because they said I can work at a daycare if I have a permit.
Yeah.
Like, so my mom, we've been trying to do that, and then I can do like the CPR program, and then by me having that, then I can go work with a daycare. That's just like more higher level for me.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. And also, so like what ways, I'm hearing you talk about a lot of things that like come with like trying to pursue that passion. So what ways can you like take like a power of like your learning in that way, because I'm sure that like a lot of those things that you were just talking about require like, that's not completely separate from school. Like those are requiring also like those things that you're learning. And so is there ways to get that passion and that excitedness that you're getting from talking about that I hear you into your learning in school?
Yeah, I feel like law would be one of them, because to be a lawyer, you gotta know how to debate, and like I'm really good about persuading somebody, and I do good with debating, because you gotta learn how to win a case, and you gotta get like evidence and stuff. So
Yeah.
like I'm really good with that in school. Like I know how to persuade my teachers, I know how to persuade my mama, everybody. It just
Wow.
yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for just, talking about those things. I think that like hearing you, the way that you talked about law and the way that you talked about daycare was like a completely different energy from when I heard you talking about traditional school. And so like, I hope that like there's ways that you can find to kind of mix those two, like bringing those, because those aren't completely separate. So like, can you like create a club at your school where you're like just you and a couple of friends are doing debates? Can you practice that skill? Can you sign up to do a CPR course with some of your friends? Could you like maybe even get the school, like ask if they would pay for that, or like have a class at the school?
Yeah, that's what like I feel like this would more schools need, because now schools nowadays they don't have like no special programs. Like
Yeah.
I remember my one teacher from Cody, she was telling me like back in the day, like they had a lot of programs you could stay after school. They had chess club, all of that. And now school, they ain't got nothing. They just want you to leave. Like
Yeah.
one time my teacher, they left before school was over.
Yeah.
Because I don't know like what's gonna get them to like do more programs so kids can be more active instead of out here doing bad stuff. Because I feel like if kids had something to do, they wouldn't act the way that normal teens do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
have
think,
something
like
to do.
feeling empowered within that, because like hearing you talk about like the passion about wanting those programs for your school, like there's ways to organize. And so finding like creative ways, like, so that could be like creating a petition maybe, or getting together with some of your friends and telling your story and like what you need, asking, feeling empowered enough to request that from the people in your school, or at least, you and your friends, there's like power within your words and like power within what you can do. So being like grounded and remembering that in terms of like asking for those things and requesting those things is like what you need as a learner,
Mhm.
So thank everybody today. That show went past really quick, really quick. It seemed like we need like a 2-hour show, right? I really thank you, Zoena, first of all, for helping to lead this conversation and just talk to people from a I don't want to call you a child's perspective, because you graduated from high school, right? But from the adult perspective, right? Just to really talk to them and just give them that perspective, because I don't know it, right? I know your mom knows it, but she knows it from a parent perspective.
Yeah.
And what I would like to do is invite the rest of the guests back for our next parent show, because this will be a continuation over the summer. Our goal will be to actually have conversations with parents who have done homeschooling, parents who've been a part of the co-op groups you were talking about, and even other students, because I think Zoena was very light on herself about some of the things that she explored, even her brother. Like, I know one year he was a part of like a sleep out where they slept outside for like 30 hours or something like that, because he wanted to. Like, he's like, I want to do this to help the homeless. And like in part of homeschooling, that's what we do. So Dallas and Dayana, hearing that spark in your voice when she was talking to you, like y'all came alive in that moment. And the babies in the background, Trevon, they were like still peeping in, like, okay, so what she say? Every time something kind of sparked their interest, they were right back in there, right? So they may be a little shy right now, but what we want everybody to be is, if parents decide to do homeschooling, which I'm promoting it, right? I'm promoting. My daughter's adamant about finishing her last year in school. But if parents decide to do it, how do we do it? How do we make sure our children end up where Zoena did? Have these beautiful, brilliant, life-altering experiences that enrich them, empower them. They empower the people that they're teaching, because they're teaching at the same time while they're being taught in homeschooling, right? And while they're doing that, that they land in a place that can prepare them for the future. And so our time is up, and I hate to say that, but I really thank you. And I
Thank
love
you.
for you to join us at the next show. I'll keep you posted when that one will be. I think it'll be in 2 weeks. And there's a couple other people on our MPU, Christina Laster, who should be hosting she's going to be hosting a homeschooling show soon. So you may get an invite from one of them.
Awesome.
So with that being said, thank you everybody for joining. Please
You're
go
welcome.
in and like
Thank you.
and share and ask any questions that you have. If you have suggestions about topics you want to specifically know about for the next show, so that we can have that kind of prepared ahead of time, please share. I heard a couple of topics today, and that was, I want some bullet points from you, Zoena, right? I want to hear how you made that happen. So if there's any questions like that, please post them in this video, and share it as far as possible for every parent who may want, or a child who's thinking about homeschooling. With that being said, this has been the Parent Voice. I thank you all again. Have a beautiful rest of your Tuesday and enjoy. It's National Parent Union. Remember, voting and census is right here, right? So remember, do all those things, and we love you. Enjoy your day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.